of Denver.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody so much. Thank you for being here. This is our webinar about giving circles at host institutions and how giving circles and the collective giving model can be a really powerful path to impact for your host institution in your local community. So we're excited to share. We're going to give a little bit of background around giving circles and the model and why they're important. We're going to talk through some of the things that we've learned hosting and helping hosts all around the country do this work in a really great way, and some of the research that we've done around this. And then we're going to end by talking through our program specifically for hosts called Launchpad for Hosts, and talk to you a little bit more about what is a part of that program, if that's something that you might want to consider joining in the 2023 year. So we'll dive right in. I'm going to share my screen, and please interject if you have questions, put them in the chat. Would love to have everyone's participation.
And also for the newcomers, Heather and Marlene, if you can just share in the chat where you calling from, etc., that would be great. Okay, let's get started. Yes, and again, please feel free to ask questions. We want to do this as interactive as possible. So, to get started, thank you so much for joining us. I am Sara Lomelin. I'm the CEO of Philanthropy Together, and I'm joined here by Isis Krause, our Chief Strategy Officer, and Taisha Wilson, our Director of Engagement. Super happy to be here with you. And we are going to talk about first, right, the $1 million question. What is a giving circle and why are they important? So we always want to start with this. I was going to start with my definition from Amplifier, Isis, and you change it. But you know, a giving circle is basically a group that gets together to create change. We love this definition by our friends at Amplifier, which is a network of giving circles based on Jewish values that is based in New York. But a giving circle takes your mind, your talents, and financial abilities seriously and makes giving a collaborative social experience. They create caring, generous communities of people who act intentionally, thoughtfully, and strategically together. And I want you to think just real quickly about these three last words, right? Intentionality and being thoughtful and strategic. A lot of times people ask the question, well, giving circles are kind of like crowdfunding. And we said, no, you know, in crowdfunding, people go donate and 5 minutes later, you forget about what you donated to. In a giving circle, there's a lot of learning and intentionality and, you know, strategic thinking, and of course, the power of the group. Okay, now we go back. So we're Philanthropy Together. We are a 5-year global initiative on a mission to democratize and diversify philanthropy through the power of giving circles and collective giving. And the way we do our work is through 4 different strategic focus areas: showcase, scale, strengthen, and sustain. We want everyone to know what a giving circle is. We want to get hundreds of giving circles get kicked off and started, and we want to strengthen and scale the existing collective giving field. Next slide, please. And why we're doing this is because we believe everyone is a philanthropist. We want to change the narrative of who gets to be called a philanthropist. You know, it's not Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos who need to decide what is worth it to be funded. Right? What causes are worth it, and what leaders on the ground are worth it to get funded. The more we can include diverse voices at the table as the landscape of philanthropy is changing, you know, the more power and the more people that we will get involved, right? Youth, women, people of color, the LGBTQ community, religious minorities, etc. Everybody needs to be at the table. So, what are the steps of, you know, a giving circle, right? First, you need a group. This is not solo giving. You need a group of people that comes together to create belonging. That sentiment of being part of something that is bigger than yourself, and that by being part of this group, you can achieve a lot more. And then that group gets together and discusses and opens, a space of discourse and learning. The beauty of giving circles is also that you may have people from different financial backgrounds, social backgrounds, faiths around the same table, and finding that thing that unites them instead of looking at all the different, the things that separate them, right? So you listen to new perspectives, you learn in the process, and as we know, discourse is so needed for a strong democracy. So giving circles are a great, way to strengthen democracy. The third step is this group decides together where to give their pooled funding and their time and their talent to, right? And we do this with trust at the root. Why we say this? The money that is given in a given circle gets pulled before before people know where that money is going to go to. So there is trust among members, there is trust in the process, and there is also trust to the leaders on the ground that they're doing the work, right? The big potential of giving circles, and what we have seen with many of them, is that as 84% of giving circles give in their local community, a lot of times you have members of the same community being part of the giving circle. So the power dynamics get blurred, and you create these real relationships between the giving circle members and the community that they are supporting and the leaders that they are supporting. And then the fifth point or fifth step of a giving circle, and my favorite one, is really acting in abundance and engaging beyond the financial gift, right? For amplified impact. And I know, Marlene, you know this by heart, but in giving circles, we give the 5 T's. You give your time, your talent, your treasure, your testimony, and your ties. So really a giving circle member, and I'm going to talk a little bit after this, is not your regular donor. It has the potential to be, those donors that will have the jersey of your community foundation or your institution, put every single day. It will be your advocates, your ambassadors. So a little bit of history, right? Giving circles are not new. They're not American. We're not discovering the wheel. This is something that has been going on in communities around the globe for centuries, if not millennia, right? The concept of people banding together to create change, to help one another, to help their neighbors, is something that is everywhere. So we are just, putting the spotlight into this kind of model because it's so easy and accessible for people. As I was saying, giving circle participants are not regular donors. They give locally, they are connected with one another, they create this community, they are informed, so they educate themselves, they're aware of their causes, they organize themselves. And that, has a lot of benefits, not only for them, but for the community at large. At least 60% of giving circles are identity-based, and because giving circle members are often engaged in the communities they fund, they have unique insight into where the help is needed. So why are so important, right? Because collective giving, through giving circles, we see those challenges that the society is facing really transforming. So wealth concentration transforms in wealth abundance, right? When everyone sees their ability to give multiplied by the power of the group. Isolation turns into community, a community that really pushes each other to keep learning and giving and deepening over time. The missing voices are at the table, right? We have seen an explosion of more diverse giving circles, young people getting involved, faith minorities, rural communities, etc. Anonymity becomes accountability with those doing the work on the ground, right? There is these real relationships, and we always see mention that you become a family with the leaders that you are supporting in a given circle. Polarization turns into shared values. Again, opening a space for discourse and understanding and listening to different perspectives. And we're able to see that aggregated impact of efforts through tools like our Global Giving Circle directory that we will talk a little bit more about that. So, I don't know about you, but that's the world that I want to live in completely. And here, this slide is a little bit as, why or where giving circles are situated, right? We saw that there is a landscape of a changing world and the philanthropic sector, right? The whole world is in this unique moment, like in the middle of COVID, attacks of our democracy, uprisings, asking for racial justice. So how the philanthropic sector is in the middle of this deep introspection, right? Ideas of civic engagement, power, privilege, impact, results. Everything has been challenged, and it's time for us to think outside the box and to add different ways to engage our local communities and the ecosystem around us. The local community and the social sector context is changing too, with new issue areas that are emerging and more community members that want to engage and be part of the conversation. And maybe, your organization is changing too, right? Maybe you're going through a strategic planning process, or there's a leadership change, or, you're taking time to go and dive deep into conversations around diversity and equity. So giving circles can be a powerful tool to meet this moment and engage more and more diverse voices. So I am going to pass it to Isis to get us through the next slides.
Thank you, Sada. And it's really important to say that giving circles, you should not see them as like the perfect silver bullet that are going to solve all of these problems, but we did want to situate you that we do see giving circles and collective giving and this kind of community participation as really hitting a lot of the different challenges that community foundations and other host organizations are facing if you do it in a way that is successful and sustainable. So that's what we want to talk through next. All of this work really came together in our Launchpad for Hosts program. And to create that program, we looked at all of the research that came out of more than a decade's worth of studies around giving circles and host institutions. And then we also did a separate whole analysis of 12 host organizations that had been successfully hosting giving circles for many, many, many years and what their learnings were in doing that. And then we put all of that together into a nice package, and that is the Launchpad for Hosts program. And so we're just going to give you a little snapshot around what you can expect as part of that and some of what we cover in that program. So the first thing is that success and what success looks like for hosting giving circles can really, really vary per host institution. That's the first thing that we suggest that you think about is, why are you here in this Zoom room today with Taisha and myself and Sada? Why are you looking to host giving circles? What will success look like for you? Is it about increasing grant making in your local community and really doing that in a way that's more centered into a certain community or guided by community voices? Is it about increasing new donors? A lot of hosts host giving circles for that reason. And we want to be upfront that if that's what you're trying to do, that can certainly be a byproduct and an amazing success point, but it shouldn't be the only reason why you're hosting a giving circle is just to increase your donor base. It really needs to be that two-way street. Is it about increasing, as Sada was just saying, conversations around values and equity and doing that really in not just the staff of a host organization, but in community with the local community? So hopefully some of these are triggering some things for you and you all are already writing down what success might look like for you if you go down this approach. We bundled a lot of our work into these 5 building blocks that we think make for successful and sustainable hosting models. So the very first one is around clarity. Most often what we heard from host organizations doing this work forever is that there were very big disconnects around what the host org was offering to the giving circle, what the giving circle was taking on, and a mismatch of alignment around expectations. And so our number one tip is to really provide clarity. It's a very simple one, but it's exceedingly hard to do. And so what we go through in our Launchpad for Hosts program is what are all the different decision points that you're going to need to make to successfully host a giving circle, and how are you deciding what the leadership of the circle itself will really be tasked with taking on? What are you supporting with as a host organization in a sustainable way? We don't want you promising the moon and then you're only able to offer 2 of the 20 things you said you would do, because that's going to break down that expectation setting and that clarity. The second one is consistency. We saw a lot of host organizations, because the giving circle model is pretty new, they kept adding another giving circle, every few years. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, they had, 6 different giving circles that were all doing things incredibly differently on different time cycles, different money, like all different things. And so if you're really looking to do this in a very sustainable way, and you are hoping to do a high number, like 6 or 12 or 20 giving circles, that some amount of consistency is going to be really important to that. We do 100% know and recognize that every community is different. Every giving circle is different. We always say, if you know one giving circle, you know one giving circle, because they're all beautiful and different. But what are the pieces that you can do, even if it's just the time of year that all of your hosted giving circles are going to give, that might be the same, or it might intentionally be different because it will enable your staff to do that in a more sustainable way throughout the year, instead of having 6 giving circles all hosting their grants night on the same month. So thinking upfront and ahead around consistency is really important. The third one, and I think we should move this to number 1 because it's honestly the most important, is agency. When we say host a giving circle, I just want to really dispel the myth. This is not about you flying into a community, hosting a giving circle, and you're doing all of the work and directing all of the decisions, and you just happen to have a group of people who are in the circle. This really is much more about a partnership between the giving circle and the host organization, and how that relationship can be really powerful and lean into the agency of the circle itself. I think where we've seen host organizations break down is when they're holding too much of the work on themselves and not letting the circle have ownership and leadership to the degree that they would like to, and that's part of their understanding as well. And I think honestly that comes down to a lot of bias. I think sometimes in philanthropy and in this sector, there is bias around what certain communities can or cannot do and take control of. And so as much as you can lean into agency is really what we recommend, into the passion and the leadership and the ownership of the giving circle leaders themselves. Marlene is here from a giving circle in Denver, Latinas Give. I'm sure she'll triple thumbs up this one, and maybe you can share a little bit, Marlene, in the chat around what that looks like for you to be successfully hosted by the Denver Foundation. Number 4 is necessity. What one of our hosts that has been doing this work for decades, the quote she always says is, "What is yours to own?" And this is this bullet. What do you, as a community foundation or other host organization, what is a necessity for you to take on? And you're not the only ones in this space to do everything. Philanthropy Together is here. There are other networks out there. There are other community organizations that can help you on some of this work. So look outside beyond taking everything onto your own shoulders, and what are the other pieces that can support you, leaving you to really focus on what are the necessity things that you as a host organization do need to focus on. And then the last one, which is also incredibly important, is the equity piece, and really wanting to make sure that your giving circles that you're hosting aren't replicating harmful practices in philanthropy. As Sada was mentioning, really leaning into trust and shared values and equitable practices. Sometimes there is a phenomenon where people are coming together, and because they might never have been steeped in the philanthropy world, they think they should do a 10-page application and 20,000 different pages of due diligence and, all of these long processes once the grant has been submitted and finalized. And so as much as you can lift up how to not do that, it's also a great way if you're internally an entrepreneur trying to push your host organization to do things differently. Giving circles can be a great way to sort of force that conversation and push for that as well. So these are our 5 building blocks that we really recommend, and our whole program goes through each of these decision points and how they hit along these 5 of clarity, consistency, agency, necessity, and equity. The next big thing to think through is how your giving circles will align with your mission and strategic priorities. Too often, as I was mentioning before, in the past, giving circles have been thought of as, oh, great, it's a donor cultivation tool. That's why I'm going to do it. And we're really here to say that should not be why you're doing it. It might be one of the reasons, but you really need to think about how this is connecting to the broader purpose of your organization. How is it contributing to a culture of philanthropy in your community? How is it able to host, to showcase your direct mission as a host organization and what you're doing, and the giving circles that you might host are just furthering that purpose? How is it aligning with your own efforts to democratize philanthropy and giving and impact? How is it shifting leaders and grantees towards innovative giving models and equity practices? The other 3 ways that it can align is from a people front. We know that a lot of giving circles support hosts in increasing the diversity of their donor base and their leadership. Just remember to do that in a non-tokenizing way, and really do that with a lot of grace and humility. And the timeline for building those relationships in a true and sustainable way might take you a whole year to really work and find a leader in the community. This can't just be a host organization that is 90% white right now going into a Black community and all of a sudden expecting that a Black giving circle will pop up and be wanted to be hosted by that host organization. This has to be something that is done. This is relationship-based work, and this has to be done in a really powerful way. So really think through that. Think about the passion of the existing leaders and donors that you have. Do you have folks on your board or in an advisory board, or the people that always help you host your annual gala? How can you bring them into the fold as really being the starting seed for some of this work? How can you bring in some of your peripheral donors or your new donors that aren't yet engaged closer to you as a host organization through a giving circle model? And how can you strengthen relationships amongst your existing donors? The third way to look at how this can align is from a programmatic lens. This is the one that speaks to me at least a lot, is that how can this work really sort of double down on an issue area that you want to further fund, or help you introduce a new focus area to your work, or build relationships with a broader number of grantees in an ecosystem. Let's say you only were giving to established large nonprofits as a host organization in the past. How can a giving circle in this work get you closer to the grassroots and to some of the smaller work that's happening on the ground, and use this as a chance and a relationship building opportunity? This is going to cost you money to do. We don't tiptoe around that at all. It's just what it takes. It's the staff time to host a program like this, but it can be really, really powerful. And then the last is the position that you hold as a host organization, increasing community visibility for you as a host, potentially increasing your grant making capacity or filling that grant making gap, or piloting a participatory grant making approach or some other shift you're trying to make. That's also really powerful. So really think through these as at the front. This is what we spend a whole week on at Launchpad for Hosts, is really diving into these different pieces. And it's important for you to go back to your leadership and talk through, why are we considering doing a giving circle? Which one of these aligns with our own needs? Another thing that we share a lot about is this concept of a pop-up giving circle, where as opposed to a year and year long giving circle, which is incredible, you might want to try this work and try this model of community-based philanthropy with an increased, grassroots donor base with a pop-up giving circle. And that's where you condense everything that you would have done in a whole year into 75 or 90 minutes. It's of course not nearly as deep. It's not at all the same relationship building, but there is real value in people just not understanding what it is to be a part of a collective giving group. Like that doesn't transcend yet into the general public, though we do have a TED Talk that's out right now. So hopefully that'll help a little bit get this into the zeitgeist. But a great example of a pop-up giving circle is this agenda to the right, where you gather and you get to know one another who came to the pop-up. You reflect on your shared issues and the values that you care about. You as the host would come in with 2 or 3 groups that you want the group to consider. You would talk about them and actually vote or do a consensus-based decision around who will receive the group's funding. And then the final piece is to actually make that group donation in the moment together. And so, you out of that experience, we've seen a lot of other host organizations that have gone through our program use a pop-up to solicit and find leaders who then want to go through a full process of building out a giving circle at that host organization. And this can be a great way to pique that interest. In terms of sort of the starting steps here, just some of the things we consider is really starting first with finding your founding team and the leaders that will start this giving circle. And hopefully a lot of the times this is existing groups of people who come to you, and it's a little bit of that serendipity moment where you're building those cross relationships. But we also know that that doesn't happen every single day, and they might not even know that you're looking to start a giving circle program. And so the other way of doing that is doing really intentional relationship building and outreach, and doing that from more of a donor organizing perspective to get folks interested in potentially starting a giving circle or hosting a pop-up. The second one is to support those leaders through the startup process. This is the part that takes, unfortunately, it can take like many, many, many months is to actually get going. And that's where you're defining your shared values as a group and how much folks are going to give and all of those different resources. We do offer a lot of programming. And so I hope you all view yourselves as part of the Philanthropy Together family right now. But we host monthly 90-minute trainings that are free of charge to start up a giving circle. And so that's a great resource for you if you get to this stage. Then it's about putting the circle out there and growing the membership base and getting to the point where you can give your first pooled donation cycle. That is the part where people finally click in their head of like, oh, wow, I get it. This is what all that work up until now was for. And then from there, as a group, you can decide, okay, let's do this 3 times a year, or we'll just stick with once a year, whatever that is. Once you go through that first cycle together, that's really helpful. Obviously, sharing the news to get a word out about that. And then from there, what are those long-term supports that you as a host organization are going to offer and both agree on from that agency piece to support the giving circle long term. So that's what we suggest as the startup. There's tons more we could share, and I hope some of you will consider joining our Launchpad program. So I do want to just spend a little bit of time talking through that, and then we'll definitely save 10 minutes or so for questions. So Launchpad for Hosts, we only run this program once a year. It's February 28th to April 4th. It's every Tuesday for 6 weeks. The sessions are 90 minutes long. Applications are due February 15th. And these are just some of the hundreds and hundreds of people that we've trained in Launchpad for Hosts and Launchpad for You. It's really a fun community building program, and I love it. At least it's my favorite part of having this job. Here are the 55 different amazing organizations that have gone through the program in the last 2 years. So quite a number of community foundations, quite a number also of not community foundations, but other collectives or networks that are looking to host giving circles also as part of their fundraising strategy. And we talk a lot about how to do that in a way that leverages the assets of the community, but doesn't sort of create false incentives either way. Our 6 weeks go through these topics. Number 1 is all around the hosting vision. Like we talked about today, the mission, the alignment with those circles, the outcomes and expectations that you have and your leadership has. Week 2 is all about the design of the circle. So what is it going to focus on? How big do you expect it to be? What is the financial contribution and the values piece? Obviously, this can't be fully determined by you as the host. That's what we're trying to show in this program. But it is really important to consider if, for example, the scenarios of if you only had 10 people in the circle giving $50 each, is that okay? Like, are you okay with that kind of a giving circle being hosted at your host institution, or is that not going to work out for some other reasons on your end? And so deciding what your own no-goes are is really important to make sure that it's the right and true fit, that you don't from the get-go have a misalignment of expectations around that. The third week is all around the host and circle relationships, how you're going to integrate that circle into the other elements of hosting that you already provide, the investment level, the supports you're going to offer, how you're going to staff it. Week 4 is all about the leadership piece, how to engage leaders, give them that ownership and agency that we were talking about. Make sure that it's not all coming from you. Week 5 is the nitty gritty around the hosting infrastructure, the data tracking. We have a whole sample evaluation system that we provide as part of the program, technology considerations. And then number 6 is the long-term impact of that circle. So how are you going to potentially steward those donors? What does civic engagement and the circle life cycle look like? So that's all really important. And those are the 6 weeks that we cover. We send you a printed toolkit in the mail, so you get to follow along and take notes as you go through the program, which is really helpful. And for afterwards, we have a community forum where you can connect with all of the hosts that are in that program together and share your experiences and lessons learned. We provide this strategic plan workbook, which is 15 pages of exactly how you could pitch this to your senior leadership. We've had people literally fill out this template, all of those little yellow highlights. All you have to do is enter your own information, and then they've branded it with their own branding and literally gone into a meeting with their board and their CEO. So really trying to make it plug and play. That's why we exist here, is to take off all of that thinking work on your end. You get multiple sessions of one-on-one coaching with our team here, as well as group coaching, which is great to just see how other members of the community are starting their giving circles. And then during our time together, we do a lot of interactive breakouts. So for example, this one is an exercise we do, I think it's week 3, all around what are the different supports that you can offer as a host organization within all these different buckets. And then we actually spend time in class organizing them into what do you definitely want to offer, what maybe could you offer, and what do you 100% don't want to offer because it's not going to be sustainable for you. And so those kinds of activities is how we really make this unique and bespoke to you as we're in the class together. And then there's also lots of tools and templates that we provide. So Sada was at LCF for over 7 years, quite a long time building out their 10, 8. Okay. So this, for example, is their application process. This one here is a sample cost calculator from a host organization in Florida. So lots of fun tools to get you all started. Yeah, people seem to love the program. We have a lot of fun. We're a fun group. We really try to make it fun and unique and a great experience for all of you. And yeah, we hope you join us and register. It's $1,000 for 2 participants. We really encourage every host organization to come with 2 participants so that you're able to share and talk and go back and discuss and bring that to your leadership. And then it's $500 for each additional participant. Honestly, it should be 5 times as expensive for everything that we give and offer, but our whole mission as a nonprofit is to have more giving circles be out there in the world and be hosted successfully. So that's why we've priced it as such. And I think Taisha can share with you a little overview document that has all this information that you can share back with your leadership if you need to. And then you can apply and register at philanthropytogether.org/hosts. And I think that's it.
I think
Now
we would
we'll
like,
take some questions.
it would be great, if you can share a little bit about your giving circle and how, you were hosted you're hosted by the Texas Women's Foundation, and, that relationship between giving circle and host institution, while people, think about the questions that you want to ask.
Yes, Sarah, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you all are here to learn more. And Isis really was talking a bit about that win-win situation and leaning into agency, which is what I feel has created a very successful and rewarding relationship between my giving circle, called Heritage Giving Fund. We are the first Black giving circle in the state of Texas, and we were hosted by, yes, Sydney, thank you. Round of applause, Rhonda. We were hosted by the Texas Women's Foundation, and they are a heavy hitter in the North Texas community. And so when Heritage Heritage Giving Fund, let me back up, my circle, we are a group of Black women who collectively pull our time, talent, resources, treasure, all the 5 T's that Sarah mentioned, together to invest in Black women leadership, basically organizations that serve women and girls. And so we started in 2017 during Black Philanthropy Month. And we didn't have anything like a Launchpad for you or a Launchpad for hosts to train us how to start our giving circle, but we just had an idea, and the universe and the stars aligned, and the Texas Women's Foundation leaned into our vision for heritage and said yes. And so they provided us with everything that we needed, honestly speaking, as a budding, did not know what we were doing giving circle when we first launched. So shout out to our founders, Akila and Dr. Drew and Francois and Halima and all of them. What they needed was visibility. We needed a place to just get our feet settled, to provide us with the infrastructure to collect donations and get the word out. And we needed meeting space, and we needed a staff liaison to kind of help us bring that vision to life. And that's exactly what they provided us. And in return of that, we had a great relationship with the Texas Women's Foundation still to this day. We absolutely adore them. And one of the things that they have shared with us, since investing in heritage since then, now they've they've added 2 more giving circles to their portfolio. So they have the Orchid, which is an Asian American amazing giving circle, and the Village, which is another Black led giving circle. And so y'all, it was a win-win situation for sure, from heritage, with us being able to get our vision out loud into the community, connect, pull some amazing resources, our resources together to invest in some amazing grassroots nonprofit organizations who really needed our support. And then for the host organization, we have heard them personally tell us how that helped them to connect with, build relationships with a broader community that they had not been very intentional about engaging with, let's just say that. And so, and from that, we were 5 years into our relationship. Heritage is celebrating our 5-year anniversary, and I'm excited about 2023, but we had, it was a win-win from a programmatic stance. We did a lot of programming for Texas Women's Foundation. They invited us to their luncheon galas. We did grant making 101 courses. So they provided us as members the opportunity to do some training and leadership development and such for the community. And even just, again, back to the people, y'all, that's where the power resides. Like, it's back to the people, and it allowed us to join forces to do what we want, what we love, which is one, to love on community and bring folks together to actualize and to utilize their power. So I cannot stress the importance of community foundations in this movement and in this work. You all play a very huge, important role as anchor institutions in a community. Sometimes we just think about the schools, but community foundations, you all are anchor institutions within community. And I just am super excited that y'all are even interested in the model, because it is a powerful community building and power sharing and fun model to do great things together. So thanks for allowing me to share, Sarah, Isis. Oh, thanks, Felicia. I love y'all. I could talk about this all day, y'all. Philanthropy, us, working together, community, all the things.
Any questions? Because I know we have just a few minutes. Please feel free to unmute. Sydney, I see you unmuting.
Maybe. I don't think this applies to anyone else, but I'm wondering if you all have ever had any academic institutions do any form of this. I'm from UT, just kind of trying to figure, this is of personal interest to me, but also trying to figure out if this is something that our department could maybe do too.
Actually, that's a very good question. And, we have done it with companies but I was in conversations with UC Berkeley and Stanford at some point, because in that case, I was at the Latino Community Foundation, so their Latino alumni group wanted to start a giving circle. So, and actually, they had like this great idea at Stanford that the alumni group the giving circle was going to support nonprofits led by alumni. So there are many, the good thing with the giving circle is that you kind of invent or write your own rules. So yeah, definitely can be hosted in an academic institution. We just heard that the Johnson Center of Philanthropy at the, what is the name of the university? I'm blanking out. They are going to start a giving circle inside there in Michigan.
And Sydney, one of our participants for our Launchpad For You program, which we train individuals how to start giving circle, he works for a university, and he actually started, starting giving, like he started with the pop-ups, what
Yes,
ICE
those are so
shared, that
cute.
model. Literally, he started, and that's what he's doing on his grounds. And so when I think about UT Austin, that would be an amazing way. We need to talk, Sydney, seriously, because I think that would be an amazing entry point, the pop-up giving circles. And he's now doing those often, and letting the students drive the topics and the initiatives, and lining the pop-ups with the programs and the themes of what's going on campus. So it's just, yes, to answer your question, yes, we can do this at educational institutions as well.
Awesome. Yes, I definitely want to learn more about that. I love the pop-up idea. I think that's so cool.
Awesome.
As a way to see if it has any legs to stand on further on. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll be happy to connect you with him. He's awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Heather, Rhonda, Beth, Sharon, Miranda, Marlene? Well, we hope to see.
We'd love to, see with a thumbs up, like, is anyone planning on maybe starting a giving circle after this, or already has plans to, or anyone we can follow up with more information about Launchpad for Hosts, if that feels right.
No questions, but great content. And I've just been on you guys' email and listserv. So I love that you guys are having another conference. I attended last year, so just here to listen and learn.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Awesome. So we will follow up with all of you, and if that's okay, we would love to see all of you in February for a great cohort. I feel that, we're building and making this program even stronger all the time. And, once you're part of the Philanthropy Together family, we will help you all the way. It's not just the 6 weeks, as Isis mentioned, is the group coaching, the one-on-one coaching, and just, being part of everything that we offer. So we hope to see you next year.
I'm gonna drop my email in the chat real quick, because if something comes across your mind, y'all want to connect, you know where to find us now. But if you have any questions or any referrals or whatever the case is, we're in this together, y'all, to grow this movement. So holler at me. There's my email.
Perfect. Oh yeah, and the scholarships,
Perfect.
yes,
Thanks,
please.
Bridget.
We don't want cost to be a barrier, so we do have some scholarships if you need it, so let us know.
All right, bye y'all.
Thank you, bye.